Topping today's news, the police are asking the public's help in locating 3 wanted suspects, including for murder. Saudi Arabia to decrease oil production may impact the price of gas here in the Bahamas. The Prime Minister says he will not allow NIB to fail. And the spouse of the Prime Minister responds to Reverend Rex Major women lie statement on marital rape. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. An increase in your National Insurance Board contributions may be imminent, as Prime Minister Philip Davis says NIB cannot fail. While not giving a definitive yes or no to the question posed by reporters on Monday, will there be a hike in the National Insurance Board contributions? Prime Minister Philip Davis, in his response, says this.
Let me just say we cannot afford for national insurance to fail. We have heard the actual report. We take it under consideration. And yes, I will be speaking to it in more detail when I speak again in the debate. If I'm advised by all of the experts that to do nothing, national insurance will fail, and I said to you, I will not let it fail. Do I have to say more?
Earlier this year, Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, Miles Larota, who has responsibility for NIB, told reporters that Cabinet had made a decision regarding NIB contributions. Talks about an increase in contributions followed the 11th actuarial review of the country's social safety net, which predicted that NIB could be depleted by 2028 should officials neglect to take urgent action. Prime Minister Davis says he will address the matter in the House of Assembly during the budget debate that begins on Wednesday. The Royal Bahamas Police Force has released several wanted posters for individuals they would like to question in relation to murder, attempted murder, and fraud. As it relates to murder, the Criminal Investigations Department, CID, is asking for the public's help in locating 27-year-old Kendall Raphael, last known address number 27 Jones Heights. Raphael, seen in this wanted poster, stands between 5 feet 5 inches tall, 5 feet 7 inches tall, with a dark complexion and medium build. The second wanted suspect is an unknown male who is wanted for the attempted murder of a Chinese national at his business establishment on East Street, just south of Wolf Road, on Sunday afternoon. The businessman was shot to the upper body after the suspect, who was a customer, returned to the store following a verbal altercation and opened fire indiscriminately in the store, wounding the businessman, who was last listed in stable condition in hospital. This image of the suspect wearing a red cap with his face partially covered with a medical mask was captured by a security camera. He stands between 5 feet 7 and 5 feet 11 inches tall, with a dark brown complexion and slim build. If you know the whereabouts of either of these men, you are asked to contact CID or call 911 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS, 328-8477. Also wanted by police who are investigating a case of fraud by false pretense is 37-year-old Kelly Ann Burrows, also known as Kelly Ann Nottage. Her last known address is Frank Watson Boulevard. She is described as being 5 feet 7 inches tall, with light brown complexion and medium build. If you know of her whereabouts, you are asked to contact CID or the Financial Crimes Investigations Branch or 911, or you can also call Crime Stoppers 328-TIPS. Saudi Arabia has announced that it will be reducing its oil production by 1 million barrels per day in an effort to support the declining price of crude oil, which has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and an oversupply. The production cut will be its biggest in years and follows a meeting in Vienna on Sunday with the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, Russia, and other smaller producers. Cuts will begin in July until the end of 2023. Now, as for how that will affect gas prices here in the Bahamas, Minister of Economic Affairs, Senator Michael Halkita, says it all depends, as other producers may increase their oil production.
We have to see if other countries within that cartel increase their production to ramp up to make up that difference. Also, we have to look at the fact that what's happening in terms of the world economy. If If it's slowing, for example, if China is not growing as fast as it has been traditionally, then that will affect their demand. So it will be a formulation of what other countries do and how the global economy is performing, and what the demand is for fuel. We're hopeful it doesn't lead to any spikes, but that's something we'll be monitoring.
The Petroleum Retailers Association has been lobbying for quite some time for a 30 cents per gallon increase in gas margins at the pumps here in the Bahamas. Senator Halkita says the potential fuel hike will not impact the government's stance on no margin increases at the pump.
We take all of these things into account. As I have said, our view is always, what happens at the end of the day at the pump. And if you see, if the impact of this cut in production is an increase in price, then again you can see, the reluctance of government to do something to add to any increase that might come from a cut in production. So, we'll watch it and we'll monitor it.
On Monday, Prime Minister Philip Davis said that there needs to be a balance between profitability and affordability, as he is comfortable with the profit margins earned by the fuel retailers. He goes on to say that the government cannot control what's happening in other jurisdictions, which sometimes can have an impact on the country in very negative ways. He said, in the meantime, the government will see how best to help businesses grow and be profitable. This year's Labor Day may be in the history books, but labor matters are ongoing, just as the Davis administration's 2023-2024 fiscal year plan is about to be debated in the House of Assembly beginning tomorrow. JCN spoke with a number of union leaders for an update concerning various labor union matters and pending agreements. Cale Campbell has more in this next report.
The 62nd annual Sir Randall Falks Labor Day week of activities ending on Friday with a Labor Day march and rally, there are still a number of pressing matters for union leaders here in the country. One union even thinking about taking some action if their concerns are not addressed. Love 97 News was able to catch up with some union leaders for an update on ongoing issues. Bahamas Hotel, Catering, and Allied Workers Union President Darren Woods was very outspoken about the ongoing negotiations for his union's industrial agreement, with there even being discussion among his union's members on potential action.
Presently, we are dealing with the outstanding industrial agreements. The major one, we are just about ready to wrap it up with just one item that is outstanding. And so we are trying to now wrap that particular one up. We have four that are outstanding. We have to ask the minister's interventions because they are stalled, and they're all stalled at the same place with the same person who's negotiating on behalf of those employers that is stalling the negotiations. So we've asked the minister to step in. The outstanding industrial agreements, because they've been outstanding for a long time, and we try now to bring our people to a point where they are able to benefit from these industrial agreements. And so we've asked the minister to step in, because the reason why we've asked him to step in, because the persons are stalling the negotiation and our people are tired. Our people are on standby because they're on work to rule, and we're getting ready to ramp up particularly, but we've given the minister an opportunity to deal with the matter before we take matters into our own hands.
For a response to the BHCAWU, we also caught up with the Minister of Labor and Immigration, Keith Bell, who had this to say in response to questions about the union's grievances.
There are a number of matters that we have already resolved. The other matters are a bit more complex because it involves a number of stakeholders that we have to consult. And so the main thing is that we are at the table, and we have shown our willingness and our desire to reach an understanding and agreement with their social partners, and certainly the employers, unions and the employers. And so it is important for us to continue to keep the lines of communication open, and I think that is key, and we're going to get through it. Prior to the elections, we had signed a memorandum of understanding with the unions to ensure that we got all of the outstanding collective bargaining agreements out. And to date, we have gotten in excess of 18 in collaboration with the public service, in collaboration with the ministry, the Public Service Commission, with all of the private NGOs, and certainly all of the unions and the union leaders. And so I wish to commend them for sitting at the table, for the endurance that they had, and for working, because the end goal is to ensure that we take care of the workers in this country. They're the backbone of this society.
Other unions are now just at a wait and see, with Bahamas Public Services Union President Kimsley Ferguson, while out representing his union, who were out in full force during the parade, spoke to some ongoing matters he hopes will come to a conclusion with government.
We're thankful that we were able to accomplish the industrial agreements with the Bahamas Public Services Union, the Public Service, Nassau Airport Development Company, the Airport Authority, the Public Hospitals Authority. We are currently completing the industrial agreement for the University of the Bahamas, for which persons would have already begun to receive benefits as we negotiated in good faith, and that is to be concluded shortly. We have one more that is Antiquities, Monuments and Museum that is actually being completed, but it was contingent on what would have happened for the public service, and so that is what we were waiting on. We have that in hand now. We're just waiting for a day on which that can be signed and those persons can begin to receive benefits from it.
One union leader, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson, says she and her union will be keeping an eye on the budget debate, particularly with regards to human resource matters affecting her union members.
Always current issues. Some of them are recurrent issues, but we're pleased to say that most of our industrial agreements have been signed off and our members are enjoying the benefits of the agreements, but we still have human resource matters that are it's a sore, it's frustrating, and we need the government, and we are glad that we heard the budget yesterday. So we're going to make sure there's a line item in the budget to ensure that all this backlog be cleared up so that our people can live a decent life.
Thanks for that report, Kale. And finally, in this segment, following the opening of the new Consumer Protection Commission building on Monday, there have been concerns about the rental space that the commission is now occupying. Minister Halkitis made mention of two Facebook Lives, two individuals who he says have been claiming that the government did not rent the buildings lawfully. He says those claims are false.
I've seen the episodes on social media by a particular individual and aided by another individual. Right? Accommodations for government ministries and departments are handled by the Ministry of the Public Service. They have a structure, they have an accommodations manager, they have a team that assesses accommodations. When accommodations are required, that is the department that deals with it. Consumer protection is a priority of this government. We wanted them to be in a standalone building by themselves. Labor needed their space for the Ministry of Labor, so we identified space. It went through all of the protocols in the Ministry of Public Service. It fits within all of the norms in terms of the price we pay, inclusive of CAM charges and retrofitting. All of that conforms with the policy of the Ministry of Public Service.
Minister Halkitis goes on to say that this incident is just a case of disgruntled individuals who have decided to make false allegations.
Boards, committees, ministries, departments do not decide where they want to go. The accommodations are settled by the Ministry of the Public Service. Everything was done according to their policies and fits within their standards and within their ranges of what they pay for accommodation.
The economic minister says he has heard that several names have been thrown around as owners of the new consumer protection building, totally without foundation or proof. He says the actions are shameful and must stop. The Consumer Protection Commission had the grand opening of their new space located on Tonic Williams-Darling Highway just east of Mario's Bowling Alley on Monday. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.